So thank you to the wrestling team. Again, if you would like to join, go talk to them. But now we're going to talk, well, we are going to talk about the mock accident that took place on Wednesday.
I wasn't there, so.
Yeah.
Well, you experienced the one last year, right?
Yes.
All right, so you kind of something to go off of. So this year's mock accident, especially since we had a new resource officer this year, instead of Officer Wallers, we were now joined by Officer Walsh, who took care of it, and man, did that man put on a performance. He is in the wrong line of work. But also in the mock accident was Jose Aponte, Ashlyn Granger, Allie Hayder, and
Hadery.
Tori Edwards.
Hatery. Allie Hatery.
Is that how you say
Yeah,
it? Oh, I feel
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
We shamed him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the acting was very good. All of the students
Ashlyn-
that you mentioned were very, very
I feel
professional.
Like Ashlyn had the
Um,
hardest part. She
yeah.
was dead.
Yeah, and other than a brief little flutter, you would not have known that she wasn't just like actually not living.
I had a few of the 8th graders who were standing next to me ask me if she was okay and why wasn't she moving, and I said, she's dead. And they looked genuinely concerned and
Oh.
asked me, is she really? And I'm like, no, it's fake. She's fine. It's all fake. They're all acting. Don't worry. But like, that 8th grader just seemed genuinely distraught when I told them that, and I felt really bad. I thought that they knew it was completely fake.
Yeah, but yeah, they definitely did a good job. And so the last mock accident took place in front of the cafeteria, so not a lot of people could really see it
And we
because
had
it was
a-
more like narrow, congested
Yeah,
area.
it
Down
was
the driveway
Yeah.
area.
It was on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
so we couldn't stand on that sidewalk to see it, and we couldn't stay on the road because that's where the cop cars and the ambulance would go through. So we were stuck on the opposite patch of like greenery to the cafeteria, which meant that we didn't get a clear view. A lot of people couldn't see over some others. So I felt like the area that we were in had we were closer. It was easier to see what was happening.
Yeah, so right in front of the
Yeah.
flagpoles, right in front of the school, so you could wrap all around, almost like theater seating with how the grass slopes up.
Yeah,
So,
and I've always found the mock accidents like very interesting to see. I really enjoy the different scenarios that they come up with. It's always different each year, what the accident was, how the people got injured. They try to make it so everybody goes in a different direction. This year we had one person who had died as a result of the accident, another person who gets arrested, which was Jose, for driving under the influence. Tori Edwards was taken away in an ambulance, and Allie was taken away in a helicopter because
Yeah,
his
so-
injuries were so severe.
That's definitely probably one of the highlights for many people who may not necessarily care about the accident is life flight always comes in for the mock accident, lands in the parking lot. Maybe a headache for the teachers parking elsewhere, but.
You get dust in your eyes, which is fun because the helicopter picks it all up from the empty parking lot.
Yeah.
Which
but,
is another thing I noticed. I had to drive to school later because I took an AP exam that morning. And when I was coming into school, there were no parking spots because the entire teacher's parking lot was empty. So they had to park in like student parking, Omaha Pond parking. So I ended up parking behind the band room, which is like behind the school. And I had to go and tell them like, don't worry, that's my car, don't tow it. Because I didn't want them to think there was an unidentified vehicle just big chilling behind the school. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so they decided they were going to have what, 8 through 12, right?
8 through 12, yeah.
Just to really
I
bring
feel
home
like
the
8
point.
through 12
that,
a lot of them is 8th and 9th grade don't
I
have
feel like
teachers.
a big reason that they bring in the 8th and 9th graders is because a few of them, like for example, my little sister has a few friends who are my age because she has an older sister, and I feel like a big reason that they bring them out there is to show them like what the consequences could be if they get in a car with someone who
Yeah.
is drunk.
Definitely.
Or if they drive a car being underage, because I've seen it happen where somebody who doesn't have a license, isn't with an adult, is driving a car, and like it's a dangerous thing, and I feel like it is important that the 8th graders, 9th graders are shown like this is what could happen if you get into a car or anything with anybody that you don't trust, somebody who's under the influence of anything.
Yeah.
So,
But there's also the problem with maturity levels. 8th and 9th graders, this is what I heard because I wasn't there, that there was a lot of commotion. The 8th and 9th graders really distracted from whole scene itself. Like 10 up was like pretty calm and mature about things, but 8th and 9th graders were like really rowdy and stuff.
Probably because the 10th graders and up have seen it before.
True.
This would be the first year for the current 8th graders to see it. I don't know if they allowed the current 9th graders to, because I don't know if they invited 8th grade last year.
They did. They
Yeah,
didn't
so it was
invite-
the first year for both of them, so that probably could have been it, because they're not too sure what's
The
happening.
thing is, they didn't even invite 9th grader, sophomores last year.
Hmm.
Well, they didn't invite 9th graders last year.
I thought
So-
they only invited people who were going to prom, because I thought it was a prom specific.
But they've decided that it's an important lesson, not just for prom, but going into summer,
Yeah.
going into other activities, there might
Being
be
in high
parties.
school, getting in a
being in high
car,
school,
yeah.
So they decided that it was probably prudent
Yeah.
for that. But anyways, probably the most impactful part of the whole thing was the debriefing, when they brought everyone
Yeah.
into the auditorium afterwards and got to hear the stories of people who were actually affected by incidents like this.
I
That was
really
moving.
enjoyed the story from one of our own staff members. Unfortunately, I can't remember her name at this time. I
Miss
know that
Puckett?
Miss
Yeah.
Puckett. She works with the younger classmen, I believe, 6th and 7th grade. And she's a sweetheart. I've spoken to her a few times. I feel bad that she had to go through what she did go through. For those of you who didn't get to see, she had a sibling pass away as a result of drunk driving at the age of 11, and it was very hard to this day even to go through such a loss. And I really enjoyed listening to her story. I know it was hard for her to tell. You could hear it in the shakiness of her voice, just the way she presented herself. But I did feel like, other than that, what was the old assemblies, I feel like that was a lot of slacking, because past assemblies you would have a full presentation made, they would create PowerPoint, they would show you videos, have other guest speakers come in from the police office talking about actual statistics. They'd have other people talking about how they had a person last year talk about how he received jail time because he had killed someone, and being on the other side of someone who was the driver. And I thought that that was pretty interesting, and I feel like the only highlight of that debriefing was the Miss Puckett who came in and told her story, and like that was a really moving story.
Yes, but even if you don't have necessarily a presentation or
Right.
anything, that wouldn't necessarily get the point across, especially when you have the 8th and 9th graders. They're,
Yeah.
they're not going to
You have
necessarily
to scare
care
them and-
about the presentation, so the story was especially moving. Like you
Yes.
were talking about the 8th grader who's concerned, like, is she actually dead?
Yeah.
So that story will likely stay with them more than any presentation or statistic could.
Yeah. Another thing, I felt like something that kind of bothered me though is later he did a question. He allowed the students to ask questions, and one of the younger classmen just told up a story.
Yes, well, that.
It seemed like it was fairly personal to him, but he was also kind of making jokes. Like I thought I was talking to a ghost, that kind of things, and that kind of scared me. I was worried because I just felt like there was a lack of seriousness in that.
Well, it could also just be, he's trying to tell the story and he's trying to get the point of what he was
Yeah.
feeling across, and he was using like metaphors and such to
Yeah.
try and get the point. So,
Perhaps.
And people
but,
often use comedy
Yeah.
or humor as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
but yeah. So overall, it was definitely ineffective. Experience, that's a good word for it. And so it took lessons from the last time,
Mhm.
improved it, and there were some criticisms, yes, that can be had, but
Yeah.
if anything, that just helps to go in further and make the next one even better,
Yeah.
because you learn from those mistakes and you make the next one not have those. So overall, definitely worth the time to have that. It did take a lot of time, but it was definitely worth it. Hopefully, at least most of the students walked away taking something away
Yeah,
at least.
definitely, especially when it does come down to prom night, because that's when they tend to find a lot more of those accidents occur. They happen every day, don't get me wrong, but a big reason that they do it around this time specifically is because of the prom season, driving home late, after parties, that kind of thing. So for those of you who are going to prom or any kind of after party, please remember to be safe. Drinking is illegal if you're under the age of 21, but if you're pressured into it, whatever the circumstances are, there are resources to help you get out of that situation, and just please be safe about it. And make sure you drive home safe, never get in a car with somebody who's under any kind of influence, if you feel like they are gonna drive, maybe take away their keys, involve the police, involve their parents, because if you let somebody drive off in that state of mind, they might not make it home either.
Yes, definitely.
Mhm.
So with that, we conclude this installment of the Void. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future episodes, please visit Lab 303 during A block or contact us via email. Thank you for watching. Again, if you want to join wrestling, please go and talk to Mr. Diorio or Officer Wallers, and thank you.
Oh, this will also be the last Void that I will be in. I am graduating, and this is one of my last weeks left of school. So enjoy Nick and Abby while you still have them. They have 2 more years, and
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
stop
you're stuck
in
with
here
us.
and there. But
Bold of you to assume I'm leaving after 2 years.
nice. So.
Alrighty,
Okay.
yes, so farewell to Renee, and thank you for watching.